In Bermuda, getting caught with a controlled drug is serious business. But getting caught with the intent to supply it? Well, that's a whole different ballgame. It kicks off a legal journey that's way more complex and has far more severe consequences. So today, we're going to break down that entire process, step by step, from the street all the way to the courtroom, and even beyond.
All right, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to define what this offense actually is. Then, we'll follow the path a case takes to court. After that, we'll get into the really tricky part. How do you prove what someone was planning to do? From there, we'll look at the pretty heavy consequences of a conviction, and finally, we'll meet the key authorities who run this whole system.
So what does possession with intent to supply actually mean under Bermuda law? It's a really specific charge, and that little phrase, with intent, that changes everything. Think of it like this. For prosecutors, this crime has two key ingredients they absolutely have to prove. First, that someone had a controlled substance. Okay, that's one part. But second, they have to prove there was a clear intention to give or sell it to someone else. If they can't prove both, the whole charge can fall apart.
And this isn't just a guideline, it's written right into the law. The legal foundation for all of this is Section 6.3 of the Misuse of Drugs Act, which goes all the way back to 1972. The language is super precise. It's an offense to have a drug that is intended for supply. That one word, intended, is really the crux of the whole thing. It's what gives this law its teeth.
Okay, so how does something that happens on the street turn into a major case in the Supreme Court? It's not like it happens overnight. It's actually a very structured process with a number of crucial steps along the way.
The whole journey really starts with the police investigation. Once they've gathered their evidence, that file lands on the desk of the Director of Public Prosecutions. They're the gatekeeper, deciding if the case is strong enough to go forward. If they say yes, then it's on to formal charges and a trial in the Supreme Court. It's only after a conviction that we even get to sentencing, imprisonment, and maybe even having assets seized. This brings us to a really fascinating question, right? How in the world does the prosecution prove what somebody was thinking? I mean, intent is an idea in someone's head. Proving it isn't easy, so they have to build a case out of cold, hard facts. And here's their playbook. Prosecutors build their argument piece by piece. They'll start with the drugs themselves, of course, and the lab analysis. But then they'll add in anything else they have. Surveillance footage, phone records, witness statements. Each piece of evidence is used to build a story, to argue that the sheer quantity of the drugs, or the way they were packaged, points away from personal use and directly towards a plan to sell. Now, let's say the prosecution is successful and the jury comes back with a guilty verdict. The consequences are massive, and they go way beyond just serving time. The penalties are designed to be extremely severe. And the penalties aren't a simple formula. There are other layers. A really important case from 2016, the Queen versus Damon Simmons, set a huge precedent. It established that sentences could actually be made longer for offenses that happen in certain areas, like near a school. This gives the court the power to tack on extra time depending on the specifics of the crime. So based on that case law, if someone gets a base sentence of, say, 6 years, which is already a long time, the court can add another 1 to 3 years on top of that. Suddenly, 6 years can easily turn into 8 or 9. And for the more serious offenses, the penalties just keep scaling up. If the base sentence is 7 years or more, that enhancement gets even steeper. We're talking an additional 3 to 5 years. A 10-year sentence could become 15. It's a huge multiplier.
So when you put it all together, the legal canyon between simple possession and possession with intent is just enormous. Proving that one little element, that intent, is what transforms the entire crime. It escalates the penalty from something that might be a lesser charge to a sentence that is measured in years, sometimes many, many years.
And the punishment doesn't even stop at the prison gates. There's another law, the Proceeds of Crime Act, that gives authorities the power to go after assets. We're talking cash, cars, even houses, anything they believe came from drug trafficking. For a lot of people, losing everything they own can be just as devastating as losing their freedom.
A system this complicated obviously doesn't run itself. It takes a whole team of different authorities, all working together, and each one has a very specific and critical job to do.
From the very beginning to the very end, so many different agencies play a part. You've got the police service who build the initial case. They hand it off to the DPP, who makes that crucial call on whether to prosecute. The Supreme Court is where the trial happens and the sentence is decided. The Commissioner of Prisons then takes over to manage the custody. And finally, you have those specialized asset recovery units that step in to handle the confiscation of property. It really is a coordinating machine. So there you have it. We followed the entire journey from a crime to its consequence, a system built on really clear laws and procedures. But the path doesn't just end when a prison sentence is served. And that leaves us with one last, pretty critical question. After someone is finally released, what happens next?